Have you ever felt completely blindsided by someone you trusted the most? Like the person you built your life with turned around and shattered it in ways you never thought possible? That's precisely where I found myself. Imagine finding out your wife was cheating, and to make it worse, she went out and bought a car for the guy she was with. That's when I decided enough was enough. I sold her car, froze our joint accounts, and left her nothing. But before we get into the details, make sure you subscribe. I aim to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I can only do this with your support. Let's get started. I am 38 years old and married to my 34-year-old wife, Meg. We've been married for 6 years and until lately had planned to have children. However, given what has happened, it is best if we do not. Looking back, I can't say when things started to seem strange. It could have been faster and more nuanced, so I initially disregarded my intuition due to a lack of obvious evidence. But things began to unravel when I discovered a $3,800 transaction from our joint account. After additional investigation, I discovered it was stolen at a vehicle dealership. This was weird because Meg had a new automobile I had given her for our 10th anniversary just a year before. I approached her instantly, and she didn't even flinch. She nonchalantly mentioned that it was for her friend Amy, whose card had been denied while purchasing a car. Meg claimed she stepped in to help and that Amy promised to repay her soon. At first, it seemed plausible. Amy was one of her close friends, and such incidents are not uncommon. But what truly disturbed me was that she hadn't told me about it right away. When I inquired why, she waved it off, claiming it was no big issue because Amy would repay the money shortly. Still, something seemed wrong. I started paying more attention to our bank statements. That's when I spotted a $1,100 bill at a high-end restaurant before the automobile accident. When I confronted her about it, she explained that it was for a necessary office team meal. Again, she had not addressed it, and when I questioned her, she accused me of being nosy and controlling. The situation quickly worsened. I asked Amy when she planned to repay the $3,800 a month later. Meg fumbled, saying Amy was in financial trouble and needed more time. That's when I realized something was off. The turning point came when Meg said she had been mugged. She arrived home in tears, explaining that her car had a flat tire and she had to take the train. While heading home, 2 homeless men allegedly mugged her in an alley. She claimed they grabbed her pocketbook and took $4,000 from her credit card. Strangely, she reported it to the cops and the bank before returning home, which seemed overly calculated. But what about the real kicker? A few days later, she transferred $3,800 to our joint account, claiming that Amy had returned the funds. And then, out of nowhere, she requested to be made the principal holder of the account, arguing that it was only fair after I had been the primary holder for 10 years. That's when the red flags became impossible to dismiss. I didn't agree or refute outright, but the sequence of events was enough to raise my concerns. Something was undoubtedly shady. I began looking for ways to pry into her phone, but when I did, I discovered nothing. Surprisingly, Amy's conversations did not mention money or other sensitive topics. Last Saturday, she attended her office party. I began cleaning the house out of boredom, even though it was her responsibility. I started cleaning her closet, which was disorganized with tangled garments. I took down a stack to arrange it, and a pair of car dealership documents came out. It was a document for an automobile acquired with a $3,800 down payment, registered in Meg's name. It needed to be clarified and fixed. Without thinking, I texted Amy and inquired about the new car. She was astonished by my question and said, "What car?" I informed her about the one Meg had been telling me falsehoods about. She fell silent. I deduced she was conveying the information to Meg, who frantically called me, accusing me of spying on her. I responded, "Come home, and we'll talk about who's going behind whose back." She arrived home within an hour and stormed in to confront me. I threw the automobile documents at her and she froze. She tried to turn the debate against me, accusing me of spying on her, but I didn't let her win. I bluntly asked who she was cheating on me with and who was receiving my hard-earned money. I started listing people at random, which irritated her. It became a yelling match, to say the least. She eventually sat down, defeated, and said, "It's not how it looks." I added, "It does look like you're cheating on me and spending our savings on someone else. But tell me what it is." I'm ready to listen. She acknowledged borrowing the money to cover the down payment on her colleague's automobile. Her initial deception was, he's just a friend, his credit card was declined and I chipped in. I lied because he's a guy, and you might think something is going on between us, so I used Amy's name. I refused to believe this gibberish, claiming that she had not been mugged and that the incident was contrived to conceal the withdrawal. I'm not going to lie, I was already calling her a cheater and other names, accusing her of sleeping with her colleague. She eventually broke down and confessed. She had been hiding it moments before, but now she claims it was a mistake. She claimed she had been ignored and that the affair partner was simply a distraction to make her feel better. She acknowledged using our joint account to buy him a car as a gift, but said the affair partner would repay her in installments. I could not believe her audacity. She used our savings to buy a car for her partner while I'm still paying the mortgage on the one I bought for her last year. I was recording the entire chat from the beginning. After years on Reddit, having evidence is usually beneficial. She apologized and stated that she would cease seeing her affair partner and repay the money gradually. Everything appeared casual to her, as if it were nothing. I didn't have the energy to continue fighting. I went to my bedroom, collected my belongings, and set up the spare room for myself. She did not intercede, instead saying she would give me the space I needed to get over it. Get over it? No, I was there to plot my retribution. My first objective was the automobile I purchased for her. It is still in my name and I am the one who pays the mortgage, so I can legally do whatever I want. My second goal was to obtain money from the joint account. I owned over 80% of the joint account savings. I make twice as much as she does. I didn't mind contributing more because it would benefit our future. I hired a divorce attorney immediately and started because it was the most time-consuming item on my list. It took me a week to schedule an appointment and discuss my plan. I also contacted my landlord to transfer the lease to Meg's name because we were separating. Once that was done, she was responsible for paying the rent. Meanwhile, she attempted to portray the perfect wife role. She prepared breakfast and dinner, which sat untouched on the kitchen counter. She was bothered by my coldness, but she didn't dare protest. She would leave me letters like "sorry" and "I love you." She even attempted to become physical with me, trying various methods to entice me into bed. My determination, however, remained unshaken. When I snapped at her, I had to exercise much self-control. She would get upset whenever I made a move. It was difficult not to blow up, but I ignored her existence. I ate outside and slept in another room. I separated myself from her, never entering the living room or kitchen. She would frequently try to corner me, asking what I was up to, and I would say, "I don't know yet." I had also listed the automobile for sale and was in contact with a buyer. Right now, I'm just waiting for the divorce papers to arrive so I can finally serve her and end this. This waiting period was killing me, and I needed to express my emotions. I have yet to tell my family or friends since I don't want my plan leaked, so I'm sharing it with strangers. My strategy was ready. I carefully waited for the divorce papers and carried out the plan the day I received them. I phoned a towing service and had her car hauled from our garage to the dealership while she was sleeping. They gave me a fair price, which I put in my account. When Meg discovered the automobile had vanished, she was outraged. She stormed into the room and demanded an explanation. I stated, "I sold it," with a straight face. Her jaw fell and she exclaimed, "You had no right to sell my car." I responded, "I had every right. It's in my name, and I'm paying for it. If you want a car, maybe that guy can buy one with money." She was silent and continued, "How long will you hold this up? You should move on." Meanwhile, I retrieved the divorce papers from the closet and presented them to her. She accepted the papers, shocked. I quipped, "I wish I could have returned your wedding ring, but I sold it to pay the legal fees." She burst into tears, insisting it was a mistake and pleading with me to make things right. I picked up my packed suitcases and exclaimed, "You didn't just cheat on me. You betrayed me in every way. There's no going back from that." She followed me throughout the home as I dragged my belongings outside to place them in the trunk of my car. She panicked, asking where I was going and why I had made such a snap choice. I said, "Oh, I forgot. Here's the lease document for the house. I've transferred it to your name. Now you're responsible for the rent." She panicked. "How am I going to manage all this by myself? "You know I don't make enough to pay the rent," I responded. "Maybe you can move into the trunk of your lover's car." She grabbed my hand and attempted to stop me, pledging to change, but I didn't turn back. She implored me and said she would do anything to save our marriage. I added, "You should have kept your legs closed. Maybe that would have helped. Now that ship has sailed." Despite her pleas, I walked away. Next, I depleted the funds in the joint account, leaving only enough to cover the upcoming bills. She didn't notice immediately, but I knew it was only a matter of time. That same day, I received notification that she attempted to take $10,000 from the joint account, but it was refused because I had only left a few dollars in it. She took everything left and blew up my phone, accusing me of stealing. She claimed that I stole her money and that she would sue me for it. I replied, "We'll take this to court." The divorce proceedings began and she attempted everything to halt them. She begged the magistrate that she was prepared to work on the marriage and would do anything to save it. She even agreed to let go of the money I had withdrawn from the joint account. We were required to go to couples counseling because Meg refused to let go. I attended as part of the order, but made it evident that reconciliation was out of the question. In one session, she admitted to falling for her affair partner because he made her feel better about herself. It was also revealed that she had given him the car to keep him interested in her. What about the $1,100 swipe? It was a dinner date with him. It felt disgusting and sad. I never imagined she would stoop that low. She also revealed that her affair partner had been ignoring her since she told him about her divorce. He made it evident that long-term relationships were not his thing. That's probably why she was so attached to her marriage. If her affair partner had been interested in marrying her, she would have accepted the divorce readily. It wasn't enjoyable knowing that I was my wife's second choice. So I put my foot down and said, "Whatever it takes, I want a divorce." I can't say anything about the terms because the proceedings are still underway. The divorce procedure lasted months and her life began to unravel. She struggled financially. She didn't make enough money to cover the rent on the house, so she moved into a small condo. She begged her affair partner to return the money she used to buy the car, but he was unable to do so. Helplessly, she requested that he return the automobile so she could sell it and make some money. Guess what? He fled with the car, leaving no trace. She even filed a theft complaint. While exposing this information to the attorney and magistrate, she burst into tears, claiming alimony from me based on her wretched existence. However, my lawyer battled hard to dismiss all of her money demands. She did everything to bring me back, including apologies, vows to reform, and even an open marriage on her end while I could sleep with others. I laughed, adding, "Sorry, but I'm not like you." I remained adamant that nothing would force me to stay in this marriage. Finally, it settled and I couldn't be happier. She was left with little more than regret and the knowledge that she had destroyed her own life. I had wanted to go on quietly, but I kept hearing bits and pieces about her. She took out a loan to support part of her living costs. She continued to struggle financially while battling for alimony, and creditors were now after her. Without any savings or a steady salary, she began borrowing money from friends and relatives, many of whom were tired of her excuses. Her slide from grace reached rock bottom when her landlord evicted her after she went late on her rent. It was unfortunate that she couldn't afford even the bare minimum. However, this was not the end of it. A few months after my divorce, I got an unexpected call from an unknown number. It was Meg. Her speech was weak and barely recognizable. This time she didn't call to ask forgiveness. She was in full panic mode. Apparently, after the divorce, she attempted to locate the affair partner to regain the car or at least her money. She found the horrifying truth. Not only had he left with the car, but he was also a phony. Her affair partner was involved in a small-time fraud ring and had used the car to transport illegal substances across the border. The police officers had taken the automobile and called her to the police station in the jurisdiction, where it was seized because she was still the legal owner of the vehicle. She was now under investigation by law enforcement for her alleged role. The money she had lost was minor compared to the legal fees she was about to incur. Fortunately, she had already filed a theft charge, which helped her case marginally. However, because she had an affair with him and gave him the automobile, the police were questioning her about his movements. When she called me, She wasn't just scared, but desperate. She was going to the police station and asked me to accompany her. She stated she didn't have someone to fall back on and couldn't do this alone. I listened intently as she went on about everything. When she hesitated, I gently asked, "Why are you calling me? After everything you've put me through, you think I will save you?" Her voice broke and she pleaded, "Please, I have no one else to turn to." I almost chuckled at her entitled attitude. I replied, "Yes, that's because you burned every bridge you had. You betrayed me, lied to me, and spent my money on your lover. Now you want my help? This is your mess. Deal with it." Before hanging up, I said, "Oh, and you know what? Karma's a bah. Enjoy the ride." I last heard from Meg through mutual connections. The probe into her involvement in her affair partner's fraud network had escalated. While it was doubtful that she would face jail time, the stress and legal fees exhausted her. I slept like a baby, knowing that her actions had wholly ruined her life. There was no reason for me to move a finger. Her desire and falsehoods had led to her ruin. I can honestly say that I'm a lot better off now. I've focused on restoring my finances, caring for my health, and even resuming dating. While adultery and divorce were difficult, they were a severe but essential wake-up call. I'd spent years shaping my life around someone who turned out to be a cheater. Now I prioritize myself and protect my interests. I am free to create a life that is genuinely my own. Her awareness that she had no safety net, especially after her affair partner abandoned her, fully exemplifies the adage, "You get what you sow." Refusing to aid her was the correct decision. She is responsible for cleaning up her mess. That's all for today's video. Thank you for listening to this exciting and passionate story. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, share your ideas in the comments section, and tell us what you would have done. Remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for future updates and articles. We have lots more great stories and debates to share with you. Until next time, take care, and remember to prioritize your happiness and well-being. See you in the future video.